Morena, kia ora kata katoa, and good morning and warm welcome to our Starship Enterprise. It is, I think, rather nice to start a new year a little bit revitalised and with a slightly different view around the table. So just before I declare the meeting open, this is new and it is a change and will take a little bit of getting used to. It is hopefully going to be a lot more useful for the technology, for our ability to live stream, and for our ability also to do distance communication. So in other words, to allow people to Skype in from Barrier and other places. So the work that the staff have done over the Christmas break, I think, has been extraordinary. There's been a huge amount of energy that's gone into making this work, and hopefully it'll be better for us and our community, and it now finally complies with health and safety regulations. So what I'm going to suggest is that we have a go. We trial this all during the meeting, and at the end of the meeting, when the meeting's closed, we've got our staff and our experts here. We can do a bit of a debrief, a discussion. We can work out what we like, what we don't like. We can ask questions of our staff, and we can deal with that at the end of the meeting. There is just a couple of things where you will need to press the talk button to speak, and I know that it'll take a couple of meetings before people get used to doing that, so just let us know you want to speak in the usual way. We'll get our speaking order as we normally do, nothing changed there, but you will need to press the talk button to talk. So the mics, unlike the other ones, are not live all the time. They're only live when the talk button is pushed, which is probably reasonably useful. And my understanding is that when the talk button's pushed, that also activates the camera on the speaker, so be aware that that's the process. So it will take a little bit of getting used to, but I can see, and I think we can all see, whose mic is live, so you'll be able to remind yourself if the light's on, your mic's on, and please have a go at making sure that you do press that talk button. As I say, we'll answer all the questions at the end so that we can get on with our meeting now. So, Councillor Walker.
So I see the talk button.
Yeah.
What's the other button? Left-hand button.
The other button is the ejector button. Don't press it. Whatever you do, do not press that button. Don't even think about it. No, we can.
Well, I might need to use that button.
You. Actually, I might need, mine's the only one that works. No, I'm just kidding. So, well, let's get into that at the end of the meeting. Sure.
And it's red.
It is.
So, did you say there's a camera on this device?
No. This is this is what we'll go into.
It activates a camera.
No, this is our normal process where when you're talking, you're filmed. My understanding is that this is directly linked now with the talk button to just help manage for our people, our huge audience out there, to help them be really clear who's doing the actual talking. So let's trial it, let's give it a go and save your questions up, and we can have a good go at the end of the meeting. So I'd like to warmly welcome everybody and our staff, our members of the public and our committee members, and declare the meeting open. First of all, we've got apologies from Councillor Chris Darby for lateness, Councillor Bartley and Margoff for early departure. Now, I am also aware that there was a bus strike, which has certainly impacted on some people. Councillor Stewart. Okay. All righty. Councillor Collins?
One is for early departure, but may not need it, but I thought I should answer just in case.
I'm hopeful that we'll finish by lunchtime. So I know people have very busy afternoons, so that's the intention, is to do that. There's a couple of meaty items, and there are some that we can deal to reasonably quickly. So I'll move those apologies, seconded by Councillor Filipaina. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Any declarations of interest? Nope. As always, if they arise, just let us know, and I'm happy to move the minutes of the 4th of December. Councillor Filipina will second. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. And just, I know we've got our presenters waiting, but I'll just cover off the two public inputs that were declined and explain why. We had a couple of requests from the landfill team the Susan Speedy opposing the landfill in Dome Valley. As yet, my understanding is we don't have a resource consent application for that, and my advice to the group was that we're happy to support them by giving them information, but there isn't, we can't really hear from them until there's something in the process, and at the moment their focus is probably best with the community and with the company who's applying for the landfill. The second petition that we declined was the regional pest management in relation to cats, and all of this information will actually be included in the summary of information that comes back in our report on the regional pest management plan, so we'll deal with it then. Public input declined. So it was Susan Speedy with the Dome landfill petition. The public input was from Sue Crockett from the landfill group at Dome Valley, and for the same reasons, our advice was just tie-ho till we get a consent application.
Madam Chair,
Cooper?
just
Yeah.
I'm not sure, you might need to get advice, but understanding orders, once there is an application, then they can't be heard because
Correct.
there's another process. And once there's another process where public consultation is called for, we can't hear people at meetings like this.
Yeah.
So I just don't want to give people a
Oh,
false hope. So it might be something you need to check, Madam Chair. But
I
it's
think
in
that's-
Standing Orders 7.4.4.
I think you are Chair Regulatory, that is wise advice, and I think the point is they have a process in which they can speak to us through the application, not through not through public forum. The last public input declined was Anne Batley-Booton on the regional pest management plan in relation to cats, and you'll be aware that we've gone through an extensive process of hearing from all of our community organisations to do with the regional pest management plan, and it's not appropriate nor is it natural justice to hear then from one particular group. We would have to reopen it to all our groups, and to their credit, the group were understanding of that, and Councillor Casey and I are working on a meeting in April with these groups to work out a proactive approach to sensible cat management and to working with our passionate cat advocates on some practical work that can be done. So just to let you know, that's where we've got to, but we are very lucky to have public input today. Oh, Councillor Wayne Walker.
So I just want to add to the concern that Councillor Cooper has raised, that passing this off to a consenting process may be woefully inadequate as far as this group that wants to present to us. I do not think that we're in a position to second guess what they want to present to us about. And I see a pattern that is in play now where any number of groups that want to present to us around any number of things that I would suggest we need to be informed about, and certainly I'm putting my hand up in that respect, are being denied.
Yeah.
So I take issue with that. The resource consent process is not the appropriate process. I would suggest presenting to us is, because as soon as you enter into the resource consenting process, that's combative.
I'd like Councillor Walker. I was talking to one of our other elected members 30 years ago. I came into council as a protester opposing landfills. This is something I'm passionate about, and my sympathies and my understanding is certainly with this group, and I'm in no way working against having our community being heard. We're just trying to find the best and most sensible way of doing that, so we don't raise expectations unnecessarily, we don't divert this community from the resource consent process where their They are genuinely able to make submissions and have an impact, and at the moment it is unclear just what we can do to support them. Should the local elected members wish to be working with this group and finding a proactive way that the group can be supported, I'd like to hear how we can do that, and I think that feels the most practical thing we can do. And I think, Councillor, there's probably not much more we can say. Can you press your button, please?
My view is that this is neither the best nor the most sensible way. So that's my view. And increasingly, because of the contention around what is accepted or rejected around public input, I really need to, I would suggest that we have a checklist around that and actually have a process that's more open and transparent, because I have very real concerns. So I just want to put that on the table.
Sure. I hear that, Councillor, and believe you me, I'd rather say yes to everybody, but particularly when it comes to the legal rights and remedies of community groups like the other groups who have submitted and who've participated in the regional pest management strategy. I'm not prepared to put their legal rights at risk, and I am fairly focused and clear on the issue of natural justice. It's really important to me, and it applies to all those groups, not just the cat community. So let's move on. Councillor Newman.
Thank you, Chair. And whilst I don't have specific information about that particular group, I can understand if there is a consent that has been lodged, that would have to go through a regulatory process. If the community that wishes to petition on a matter wishes to petition on the wider issue of the regulatory environment relating to the operation of landfills, clean fills, whatever, I would actually think that that is a wider policy debate for the unitary plan, and that should be considered, but it should be considered at the planning committee. And if that were the case, then maybe the advice to that particular community group could be to represent that request to the chair of the planning committee in the context of the wider regulatory framework of the unitary plan and make petitions to the effect, because I, for one, as a matter of principle, am quite open to looking at changes to the way in which greenfields and landfills operate in the context of the unitary plan, if that matter is taken at that particular committee.
I think that's an excellent suggestion, Councillor, and I think that's exactly the kind of practical advice that can be given to this community, and I'm happy to take that up. I think it's a very good suggestion. Right, now our presenters are
Chair,
waiting.
I just don't want that left up in the air, Councillor Walker's comment around there needs to be a list of criteria. There is a very clear list of criteria in our standing orders, which was adopted in 2015. So it was adopted by the governing body. So if that's wanted to be changed in the next term, that's open to people, but I don't want people to think it's just a random chair's decision. It is not. It follows standing orders. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. It certainly does, and if I can certainly make available to Councillor Walker the legal advice that actually backed the decision that I made. If I had my way, we'd actually hear from all members of the public who asked. Sometimes that's just neither appropriate nor legally available to us. So sometimes we do have to stick within rules and regulations, not just our whims.